Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Curt Crosby, Heath Perkins, Sam Bushman breaking it all down for you. I always keep an eye on the Honest Money Report, ladies and gentlemen. Gold, $4,097.50. Silver, $58.20. And so we're seeing that gold and silver's off compared to some of the highs, but it's still maintaining double what it was just not too long ago. So keep that in mind. Very interesting tidbits as we compared hamburgers a couple of days ago. 15 cents for a hamburger back in 1964. 15 cents, everybody. It was a small hamburger, though, about a tenth of a pound of beef in one of those. And so we have bigger burgers today, but nevertheless, very interesting to compare. Fed holds interest rates steady, but they say they're going to probably be increasing interest rates very soon. So we'll keep an eye on that. Fauci pleads the fifth. 111 times after he even had a pardon. You say there's nothing there? Okay, good luck with that one. All right, U.S. launches new wave of airstrikes against Iran. Well, Russia launches new waves of airstrikes against the Ukraine. The Pentagon says U.S. forces struck multiple Iranian military targets, and they are responding to a surprise attack. It's another escalation in the conflict. And I want to just kind of take a poll here of what we think of the war here. I'm a constitutional guy, and we didn't constitutionally declare war, so I don't think we should be there. Now, I know some would say, well, Sam Trump had to do it. There's a big threat out there, and Congress for sure wouldn't go along. I still am the guy that says we got to look to the supreme law and obey it. And if you really have a case, President Trump, you need to go to Congress, lay out that case. The Congress needs to go to the American people, because going to war is a very, very difficult discussion. It's easy to get in, very hard to get out. Curt, your thoughts?
Well, that I agree with you that there are a number of different reasons for that situation. One of the key things to keep in mind when it comes to wars and rumors of wars is, frankly, it's big business, Sam. It's called the military-industrial complex. And one thing about the Iranians or the Persians, whatever you want to call them, they've been in war for a long time. But, look behind them most of the time. You're going to see the bankers or the world bankers that, they love a good war. And, I understand the situation, at least part of it, about the nuclear situation and that kind of thing. And bad guys will be bad guys. All I can say, at least when it comes to the political leadership in America with President Trump and the others in his cabinet, I'm grateful for them, at least as compared to our given other options.
Yeah, you don't want Kamala in charge of the war there, Curt? Okay.
Well, I agree. Yeah.
All right, Heath, what do you say about this, though? It's an interesting dynamic. It's very complicated. I agree. The sad part is we don't have the intelligence that Trump and others in the cabinet have, so it's pretty hard to play armchair quarterback. I just know that the rule of law matters. So that's kind of where I am on it, and say, hey, I don't even begrudge if we need to do certain things. It's how we go about it sometimes that I always want to make sure that I teach to the ideal. Now, I know we live in the real sometimes, and it's not quite the ideal. I get it. At the same time, I always want to be the guy standing up for the ideal, standing up for peace, standing up for using the supreme law as it's intended, etc. But look, Heath, I want to get your take on this, where you think we are, and then I want to also tie this to the economy, because the economic reality of this is very, very serious, right?
Correct. Yeah. Opinion on this one, again, follow Constitution. If Congress doesn't vote on it, we shouldn't be where we're at. Give them the right to vote, make them actually put their name to something, whether or not we agree or disagree with it. If they put their name to it, then we can do something about it. If they don't have that liability of actually putting their name to it, then we don't know if they're for or against, and we can't do anything about it. So to just go in there and go to war. I mean, we haven't declared war since World War II, and we really haven't done very well at war at all because we haven't gone in with the purpose of actually winning. We've gone in with kind of just being, you know, the kind of the world's police force. And so it's a struggle to see us go to war. It's a struggle to see. I've got multiple family who's been in Afghanistan, Iraq, and other places, and war changes people, especially if they're not mentally convinced that that's exactly what they should be doing at the point. Like if you're defending your home and you're defending your family. You have this conviction within you that what you're doing is for the betterment of you and your family. If you're overseas and you're implementing rules that someone else just handed you from a chain of rules, a command, you don't quite have the conviction, and then people kind of lose their, I don't know, like they kind of get a little disenfranchised with being over there.
Well, and they even wonder if what they're doing is moral and right and good, and that's where I think that's why the Founding Fathers put it in the hands of Congress to do this. One, they control the purse strings for money, and so a lot of people would criticize Trump for doing this and say, hey, he violated the Constitution, and that may be so, but I don't know the intelligence behind what he did. Here's my take on it, though. If Congress knows or believes that we should be in war, and they must because they're not reining in the president, then they have an obligation to stand up, make the moral case, and give President Trump the support he deserves and the money that he deserves with objectives. Here we're going in. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to get done, and then we're going to get out. And okay, I believe that Donald Trump deserves, if we're supposed to be there, and it seems like Congress thinks so, otherwise they'd rein him in and defund it or stop him or something, and they don't. So if they believe he should be there, then they have more intelligence than I do about it. And I don't mean smarts. I just mean they have more facts that they've been, privy to. But if they really believe he should be there, then they need to give him the authority, constitutionally, the funding, and the support of 435 members of the House, 100 members of the Senate, or whatever they garner to put that legislation in place to give him the authority to go. He needs that moral support. I mean, I don't think there'd be near as many Americans criticizing it if it went through Congress. If Congress said, yes, we got to be there, this is a serious threat, and if the people then understood, I think it's making the moral case, Curt, that's key here.
That's exactly right. And, the Constitution has been brought up quite often with the whole Fauci thing. I mean, they could say, hey, look at this part about war in the Constitution. The declaration of war, and like our old buddy Bo Wright said, hey, I'll lead the Congress if they're ready to go in for war, and I suppose President Trump could do the same thing. And you wouldn't have those congressmen and senators sending their families and head off to war, I don't believe.
But don't you think Congress, as a representative, we the people, owe it to the President of the United States? If they believe he should be there, then they need to back it, appropriately and honestly, with the money, with the funding, with the guidance that they're supposed to provide. And if they were not supposed to be there, then they need to vote against it and stop it. But what they can't do is sit in the middle and do nothing, in my opinion. They're derelict in their duty. And everybody wants to blame it on the president, but I don't think that's fair.
Well, and if you're talking about dereliction of duty, one more opportunity to call foul on Congress. I mean, the guys, they've been derelict at their duty for years. And if you're talking about following the money, look who funds them. The guys that basically want war are of course, the guys who funds most of the congressmen, I believe, senators as well.
Sad but true. So Curt Crosby's throwing so many fouls out here, Heath, that I think that Congress probably fouled out of the game. Maybe we ought to unelect these clowns and elect somebody who will do the due diligence of the people.
Yeah, completely agree. The struggle we do have, though, is, I've spoke with individuals who've been around Jason Chaffetz a lot, and when he was out there, he was a congressman for Utah, and when he was out in D.C., his statement was, I couldn't get anything done. Everyone just stonewalled you. People who want to make a change out there just consistently get stonewalled with all these incumbents. And so a clean slate across the board almost seems like that's the only possibility for us to stop what is going on and get back to a constitutional move. And so I don't think we'll ever see a clean slate because, 95% of the time that incumbents get reelected. And so it's the good old boys club in a sense. It doesn't change or hardly ever changes. And it's usually whoever has the most money that comes with their war chest that actually wins. And so you got special interests are always well with that. So it's
That's
difficult.
why I've come up with the phrase, ladies and gentlemen, when in doubt, vote them out. I'll tell you that right now. So we have some strange players. We have Russia weighing in on things. We have China weighing in on things. I'll get to that when it comes to the war. What is this going to mean? Are we on the brink of World War III, ladies and gentlemen? You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live.
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote, quote, "By having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids."
All right, so America bombing Iran, Russia bombing Ukraine. There's an exclusive, though, that I find interesting in this whole dynamic. It's from Reuters. China reportedly preparing to arm Iran with hundreds of portable air defense missiles. Now, Iran, they say, could receive up to 400 Chinese-made shoulder-fire missile system within weeks. And it's a big old talk. It's Reuters, one of the big international credible news services, reporting it. But China denies the report. No independent evidence has yet confirmed the alleged weapon transfer either. But I look at this and I go, okay, wait a minute. Russia has been backing Iran. China has been friends with and backing Iran. We now have Russia attacking the Ukraine. You've got us and the Ukraine and whoever else. Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel and some of the European folks are trying to stay out of it a little bit, but they're getting drug into it. You got Russia in the mix, China in the mix, Iran in the mix. North Korea has been said to be somehow involved as well. Are we seeing World War III in the making? Heath?
This is the location it would have to happen. So before 9/11, we had 7 nations that didn't have central banks. After 9/11, the wars we went into, we ended up with 3 nations that didn't have central banks. And Iran is really one of them. Or at least a central bank that's not a player with the world group of central banks. So Cuba is the other one, and North Korea is the other one. So Iran, it's always been on the docket. It's been on the docket to take over and to put a central bank that's conducive to the rest of the world's central banks. And so it makes all the sense in the world that that's where they're going to start. One last country that hasn't been controlled by these central bankers to be infiltrated and regimes changed within it. So this makes all the sense in the world to me when it comes from a central bank's perspective. They want this to happen. They want Cuba to happen, and Trump's already been talking about that. They want North Korea to eventually happen, and that one's just the wild card on the table still. But yeah, this seems to be where it's going to start, and it'll go from there. We also had a message that was given by Janet Yellen stating that the U.S. cannot fight a war on three fronts. So if we're in Ukraine and we're in Iran, that gives the opportunity for China to take Taiwan at that point. That gives the opportunity for these other nations to kind of flex their muscle a little bit more. So tying us up into this area is going to be detrimental. Persia has never lost on their own soil, which Persia is just modern-day Iran. Throughout history, that record has never been defeated. They're a very proud nation for that. And again, they're fighting on their own territory, so the conviction of their soldiers are going to be far more than the conviction of the rest. When you invade a nation, you're the aggressor in a sense, and that the other nation truly fights with everything they've got, and their convictions are going to be far more founded than ours. So yes, I can see this being the start of World War III, and that would be the place that I would have foreseen that it would start at.
All right, what do you say, Curt? Are we on the brink of World War III here? I just think when China, North Korea, Russia, and then we're on the Ukraine side with Israel, and it just seems like, man, the players are starting to assemble sides, and it seems like everything's continuing to expand. Every time we turn around, there's more expansion. More people are bombed. More people are then taunted to get involved, and I'm concerned that we might be on the brink, sir.
Well, and it's very interesting what he said when you consider this whole central bank idea and how so very few countries have it, and Iran is one of them. But when you look at this whole, I guess you'd call it World War III, to me, one of the key issues there is, the Communist Chinese declared what was called a People's War, and this is, I believe, 2019, if I remember right. There was, and this is something that they've done for many years, but most people know very little about it. The communists, or I'd call them the kingmen and the Gadianton robbers, basically are going towards running the world. And, so you've got the free men, or the guys that hope for freedom on the one side, and then the guys that want to, control everybody on the other side. And that world war is going on. It's been going on for a long time, I think. I don't know if it ever really stopped or started.
I don't think it really stopped, and I'm just saying that it's expanding, and I don't know how we're going to be able to really back out of it at this point is part of the problem. But it's getting so bad. For example, there's a headline that I find interesting. The lines have been drawn. America shuts the door on Chinese robots. And so what they're saying is, hey, a lot of these Chinese robots are getting powerful enough to where we can't just have them in America because, they're, full of dangerous, hacking capable AI software and more. And what will that do to our infrastructure and things like that? And so they're banning these new robots, saying they're a big security concern. And I look at that and I kind of go, wow. And then we start to ask the question of how entrenched is the communist Chinese in America already? Are we already beyond stopping them? Have they already got all kinds of ways to bring America to her knees in terms of power plants? And I mean, we've got Chinese technology in just about everything these days, it seems. And so you kind of look at it and go, well, we've got Chinese police stations in America. We've got, their reach is tremendous, Heath. And do you believe this is as big of a concern as the Trump administration is making it out to be? I think it is.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so. The world is run on data, and whoever can lock you out of that data or lock you out of your systems controls all of it. Russia and China have both been sitting back and breaching certain networks for decades now, with the intent of utilizing that in in a single moment. For instance, like when you want to bring America down, the easiest way to do it is bring the infrastructure down of America. Our systems, our data systems, everything else that we have can be hacked, and in my mind has already been hacked. They're just waiting for the signal to actually do something with that information, and to utilize that against us and to weaken us at that point, to where they can, get away with whatever else they want to do at that point, because we're now, trying to patch everything back at home. So,
and Curt Crosby, it seems like the bots are fixing to vote in November, buddy.
Well, you have not only that, with the machines controlling the elections, etc., but you have so many of these students from abroad. If you're talking about the Chinese, I mean, you have, as far as I know, hundreds of thousands of them in our American universities, and they, as far as I understand, they signed some kind of pledge that basically they'll work as spies as they live here. So, is the enemy within the gates? Not only do we have, what I'd call turncoats in Congress and senators, and even in some, like with the Biden administration, I think the Chinese were controlling that very well. And so we've got troubles within our gates, for sure.
Do you think Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal? A lot of people were saying he should have been arrested when he came to America, along with Alinsky.
Well, I'd sure arrest the mayor of New York before I'd arrest Netanyahu myself, because I think we got communists running, a number of our own big cities, which there's the place we ought to start rather than trying to fix Israel.
What do you think? Do you think we arrest Benjamin Netanyahu and some of these other people, Heath?
He's in trials right now, and the only thing that's not continuing the trials that he's in is because he's in war, and so he can opt out of continuing the trials until these wars are finished up. And so he's already being tried in his own country for war crimes and things like that. So this isn't it wouldn't be us, having to do this. I mean, he's already on trial. So. But yes, I do think that what has happened from a humanitarian perspective is nothing short of genocidal, and in that sense, if we are a nation that wants to make wrongs right, there should be accountability that's held there.
And you go after Maduro and leave Netanyahu alone. Kind of an interesting twist, to say the least. At the end of the day, though, ladies and gentlemen, my vote is for Jesus Christ. I do believe that if we keep the commandments of God, if we as a country turn to God Almighty, the ultimate lawmaker, and pray for peace and stand for peace and turn to Him and repent, He promises us He'll heal our land and protect us. And I think, when there's enemies on all sides, as we see in the Bible, when they turn to God, they're protected. And I think that's what we in America need to do first and foremost. Curt?
Well, I couldn't agree more. And our Constitution, our government's all set up only for a moral and righteous people. And, like you say, without that, all bets are off.
All right, Heath, any final words about the economy? What's going to happen here? Is oil just going to go through the roof and we're not going to be able to drive around anymore?
I don't think oil is going to go through the roof. There's a lot of hype there. If they go through the roof on this, then it'll stall the entire economy, and that might be their objective. But Trump doesn't want that to happen. He doesn't want that negativity on his own presidency.
And the real key in my mind is to prevent the Democrats from sabotaging Trump on that front for sure. We better stand for the truth and create transparency and accountability. I'm telling you that right now, ladies and gentlemen. For Curt Crosby, localhoneyman.com. For Heath Perkins, freewatercoinco.com. I'm Sam Bushman over at libertyroundtable.com. You know what? Our goal is to promote God, family, and country everywhere we go. Will you help us? God save our constitutional republic.